All right, it looks like we are live. Okay. All right, today we got a deal, a subto deal, 30 minutes from downtown Dallas. 429 Tuscany Drive, Forney, Texas, 75126. They're already saying this is a great wrap. A wrap is a deal where you are buying over the loan, but then you sell it to what sometimes folks might call a penalty box buyer, where they might not have everyday W-2 income. They might be like a 1099 contractor or some other type of profession that doesn't allow them to get qualified for a conventional loan. So, hey, we're still going to analyze this for affordable housing because it's just practice. And it's always good for us to figure out what will make this a deal. Now, this is 429 Tuscany Drive, 1868 square feet, 4-bed, 2-bath, 2021 bill. So it's really turnkey. Contract price, $376,000. The PITI breakdown, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, $2,676.29, 4.125% interest with a mortgage balance of $337,338 almost. $27 monthly HOA. So here's your entry fee. You got $16,965 in arrears, which means that these are sometimes it might be a loan that is past due. So there are payments that are accruing over time that you need to put and pay off in order to make the loan current, for lack of better words. And you can see why that's a situation where it's good for a subto deal, because usually the seller might be in a little bit of pain, which means that they, for some reason, have not been able to keep up with the payments on the property. It could be due to a lot of reasons. So I'm not going to speculate on that. So there's going to be $74.80 to the realtor, so that's the commissions, and there's still $10,000 of assignment fee, which supposedly has been reduced recently. Okay, let's see. They're saying the long-term rental here is $27.50. That allows you to break even. Interesting terminology there. All right, let's look at this deal. So first things first is I'm gonna pop it open on Redfin, and since it's a new build, let's see if there's even a street view. Okay, this is looks like a pretty good neighborhood already. I mean, it's just single family new build subdivision. You can see that homes are still being built right now as we're doing this Google Map drive by. So I'm going to assume it's a relatively good area. Let's see, what do we have out here? Dollar General, there's a Walmart right there, there's Lowe's. Okay, so some jobs nearby, and it is far east of Dallas. All right, good to know where it is. How's the condition of the property look? For the most part, boom. Kitchen looks great. Some carpet, but it's only 2 years old, so I don't think you even need to replace it. You might set aside some money to paint the place in case these pictures are not representative of what we're seeing in person, but that's pretty much it. $379,000 is what it's listed for. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to look up the fair market rents. And the fair market rents is, you can go Google HUD FMR, HUD space FMR, click on the fair market rents, and you want to go to access to small area FMRs and look up FY 2024 FMRs. And from this area, you can look up Texas, and let's grab the county. For those of you that don't know how to get the county, I just go to Redfin, look at the word county, and you can see that right here it's in Kaufman County. So in Kaufman County, okay, you're going to be able to see the FMR, and you're going to see by zip code, by bedroom count. This is 75126. 75126. You can see that the FMR for a 4-bedroom property is 3790. So we're going to note this one down. Okay. So this one down. That's really high. 3790. 3790. Okay. 75126. And what was the 3-bedroom? 3-bed was 2940. 2940. Okay. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to get the market rents for this property. And I get the market rents just as initial gauge by going to affordablehousing.com, going to owner section, going to the market rent estimator, and then pulling up this address and doing a search on 4 bedrooms. And you can see that for 25 units within a 0.54 mile radius, the average rent here is 2548. And this is going to be really, really important, guys. 2548. Because just yesterday, right, we looked at this deal in Colorado and we saw what a big difference it was between the small area FMR, which we got from the HUD's website, and what the market rent is. And just so we are all on the same page, there is a test. It's called the rent reasonableness test. And let me see if I can pull this up for you on the same website that we looked at yesterday, 2535. I'm not going to get the market rents for a 3 bedroom yet. So this is the problem. If you underwrote this property using the HUD FMR at 3790, that's a huge difference than what the market rent here is, 2548. What's up, Andy? How you doing? Good to hear from you, man. And remember, this is a good page from the Decatur Housing Authority, which we're analyzing a deal like just a couple of days ago. And here's a really, really good written explanation of what the rent reasonableness test is. It says, regardless of the SAFMR, the small area fair market rent, or payment standard, the amount of rent an owner can charge must be reasonable in comparison to unassisted units in the neighborhood with similar amenities. Okay. Now, could you argue that this property is an HOA? Maybe there, I don't know. Is there a pool in this HOA? I'm not even sure. But okay, community has pool and clubhouse. So this is a situation where, hey, if the market rent here is 2548, which is what we saw here, you're gonna have to make a really, really compelling case for you to try to get a rent for 3790 when the market rent here was 2548. I hope that makes sense. That is how you can go from losing money on a deal to making money on a deal. Now, let's see if I can even get any sort of properties in this area. Let's see, where is this area? Right in Forney. A little bit north right here. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to try to get something here for 36,600. So at 2548, I would personally not be underwriting rents at that high, just based on the rent reason. That's 3790 is very, very unlikely to be true. So let's see if I can pull this up, some rental listings. You can kind of see right here. Now, this is the area where this property is. If you remember the rule of thumb that we talked about, right? If you want to see whether or not a property is overpriced or underpriced, here's a good example. This property was listed for $3,600. Okay. $3,600 for 4-bed, 3-bath. Pretty decent home. Okay. It's been listed for 30 days and it's been 0 contacts. 30 days listed and 0 contacts. Not one person inquired about it. So that tells me right away this is way overpriced because no one even bothered. Everybody probably thought this was way overpriced. Let's see if we can see any demands. Here's a property for $2,800. What's this property getting? 2 days listed, 2 contacts. Okay, that's a little bit more fair. What you want to see is a ratio of 1-to-1. Every day that's been listed, you want it to get at least 1 contact, just as a general rule of thumb. What else do we have in this area? Here's a 2.4K, 15 days, 7 contacts. Okay, it's still a little overpriced, likely. 3,200. What's this one getting? Again, 51 days, 0 contacts. Anything above $3,000, no one is even calling them because there's just no demand for that price. Now, I don't want to cross any major streets. Maybe I'll stay over here. 2,400. How many contacts does this property have? 11 days, 8 contacts. Okay, a little bit more reasonable. So you can see that all the data is adding up to what we're seeing, right? It says that the average rent here for 25 units within a 0.54 mile radius is 25.48. And now I only did that extra research because it was such a big gap, because I didn't want to miss out on opportunity, right? Because what if I did see some properties here that got me closer to this 3790? Because that could have meant that I could have gotten a cash flowing property potentially, right? But not in this scenario. Okay. So next thing we want to do is let's plug in some numbers for the details and just analyze the deal as is, assuming that, let's just say 2,600 is our rent, just being even optimistic here. But because what the PITI is, if I were you, and this is my 113th day analyzing deals, if I wasn't doing this live and doing this for the sake of others, I probably would have stopped here. But let's just go through the exercise, because when I saw that the PITI is 2,676 and I saw that my rent is 2,600, I already know this is a losing deal. So for me, as an experienced underwriter, I probably would have stopped underwriting right now. But let's just go through and just kind of prove it out, right? So $2,600, we're going to take over a mortgage balance of 337,934.56. So I'm going to plug that right in here into the subto loan. Then we're going to have 4.125%, 4.125%. And our start date for this loan, let's just call it was bought about 2 years ago. Did I get that right? Let's see. Sales tax history. Bought November. No, this one was listed. Doesn't list when it was bought. So I'm just assuming it was bought 2 years ago. So 2022. Okay. Then what else do we have for the deal details? 27 monthly HOA. So I'm gonna have a 27 monthly HOA expense right here. HOA. Plug that in. You can put that whatever expense you want in there. We got 16,965.38 in arrears. We got no money to the seller. We got 7480 for the realtor plus a $10,000 assignment fee. Okay. And just for the sake of rehab, we're going to assume everything is in pretty good shape because it was built in 2021 only. And what we're going to do is assume no roof issues because it's brand new. I'm assuming there's $500 to just keep the yard clean because you're an HOA. So typically there's some regulations about upkeep of your property. And I'm going to put in 1868 just to paint the place, just keep it fresh. But that's really all the rehab I want to have in place. Maybe I'll replace the toilets in there so it's high pressure flush toilets and there's less issues of clogging, but this gives me an $8,400 rehab. Even though I don't use it all, I could probably just leave it in there as a reserve. Now, this kind of boils out to a 2676.29. So I don't really want to calculate just exactly how that PITI breaks down to. So I'm going to take 2676.29. I'm going to subtract this principal, subtract the interest, and that's going to give me $1,038 for between property taxes and insurance as is. I'm going to add another $35 of insurance because I'm assuming the person that was living there was using it as a primary residence. So typically the insurance policy for a investment property is going to be a little bit higher. So I'm going to add an extra $35. So I'm going to set aside 10% for maintenance, 10% for property management, and 3% for vacancy, since I'm assuming it's a pretty good home. So I'm assuming if someone moves in there, they're probably going to likely want to stay there for quite a while. All right. So add 2600. This is now a negative 736 cash flow a month. Cash and cash return is negative 16.9. And this was assuming the contract price of $376,000. And it was assuming the rehab was $8,400. Because this is such a negative like cash flow and property, like this is not even going to be like close to being a deal. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes folks will advertise the deal as break even, probably because they're just using the income rents and subtracting the PITI. But it's very, very unrealistic for you to expect that there is no maintenance on your property. So you should at least, even if it's like really, really nice, and you should at least be setting aside at least 5%, I would imagine. Because you got to do some sort of preventive maintenance. You got to check on, like in a state such as Texas, you should probably be doing preventive maintenance on your furnace during the winter, on your air conditioning during the summer. I mean, you should be hiring a property manager, because why did you get into real estate? I'm assuming it's for freedom of time, so you can spend more time with your family and do whatever you like. Well, you're going to need a property manager for that. Otherwise, you're just creating another job for yourself. And then you got to have some money set aside for vacancy, because eventually you're going to have a empty month. So as a long-term rental does not work, you can probably evaluate for other exit strategies. Absolutely. You can definitely do that. But make sure you're also taking into account those expenses. And this is the difference. If you were to say this was $37.90 and I got the rents there for $37.90, this would now cash flow $180 a month. That still does not meet my personal criteria, but doesn't mean that it's not a great deal, because $37.90 is really, really high rent. But just remember, like we talked about, there is a rent reasonableness test. And the rent reasonableness test says the amount of rent owner can charge must be reasonable in comparison to unassisted rental units. That means that you can't charge people more for rent just because they're a housing choice voucher holder, just because they're a Section 8 tenant. So you have to make sure you analyze the deal in an effective way that takes into account the rent reasonableness test, because that is easily how you lose money if you do not analyze the deal correctly. All right. So that is all for today. And hopefully this was helpful for everybody. I think I've been stressing the rent reasonableness test a lot lately. And that's because I just see how people are advertising the deals. Sometimes they just take and they show, right? Because they learn how to get the FMR, but they never take into account this additional test. And that is how you might end up losing money if you buy a deal without taking into account the reasonableness test. And that is not a good position to be on. If you bought this property for this current price and you only got it rented out for $2,600, you would be losing $736 a month. That's not a position you really want to be in. So hopefully this was helpful, everybody. I hope you all will continue analyzing deals with me every single day. Thank you so much for being part of the affordable housing investment community. Without people like you guys, I would never had a home I grew up in. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys are able to create your own YouTube channel, analyze the same deals alongside with me, and put it on your own YouTube channel. If there was any part of this analysis that you think you could have done better, please do better. This is the whole point. This is how we set up the next generation for success. Analyze the same deal. Pick one sentence. That's all you gotta do. Pick one sentence I said that you can explain it in a more clear and concise way to anyone except the Forney deal. I'm not sure. I saw it posted, but I don't really follow who buys the deals and who doesn't. I just don't spend that type of time. But good question. I hope all of you just analyze the deals with me every single day. Build the consistency, build the track record, and most importantly, build the confidence for yourself, so that when a deal comes across your table, you can scoop it up instantly. You can recognize it as a deal, so you don't have analysis paralysis. And more importantly, this is not a solicitation for any investments at all. This is not investment advice. This is for you to get practice, but also to create that undeniable track record for yourself of learning how to analyze deals, put it on your own YouTube channel, and sharing your underwriting process with your partners. Because your partner is going to ask you, how do you know this is a deal? And you can show them your own YouTube channel of the past 113 days of how you've analyzed deals consistently, so that you can say, I know this is a deal because I looked at the past 100 deals and they were all not deals. This is the implied work of real estate investing. In order for you to buy 100 deals, you probably got to analyze 1,000 deals. That's just the nature of the beast. So let's analyze the deals together. And just in case you didn't know where to start, just copy the same property using the same spreadsheet. DM me on Instagram at investwithkenhe if you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, and my team will send it out to you. All right, this was late on a Sunday. I thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of this and keeping me company. I really, really appreciate it, man. Have an amazing day. And this recording will be back on YouTube on youtube.com/@Kent_HE. Thank you, everybody. And this was helpful, man. Please please share the YouTube channel with any one of your other friends. I would really appreciate it. I don't make any money off this, but my goal is to grow the affordable housing investment community, and most importantly, to solve the affordable housing problem. And the only way to solve this problem is by getting more and more people involved, giving them more and more courage, and giving them more and more tools so that they can figure out how to sustainably invest in affordable housing. So thank you so much. Have an amazing Sunday. Have an amazing Pace gave homework to do 10 deals this week. Oh, I didn't know that. Hey, DM me on Instagram. I want to learn more about the homework. I wasn't part of any was not part of any Zooms today. So, all right. Have an amazing day, everybody. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow.